Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you guys. Today we're going to be covering, start covering the decks that I'm going to be using for Season 8 here when it comes to laddering. I touched upon this in an earlier video. I believe it was the Prank Kids Adventure, the last one of those videos I did. But yeah, this time around, I normally only ladder with like, you know, maybe one or two decks. But this time around, I want to branch out a little bit more because like I've said, there's a lot of decks that I really like playing right now. I know a lot of people are kind of like sick of the adventure cards. I mean, maybe some people. I don't see actually too much of that vocalized. Not as much as like Sword Souls at the the beginning of Season 7 there, but I really like the variety that ironically this engine going into all these decks is kind of introduced, because yeah, the decks are to an extent just all doing the same thing, but there's still definitely variety in the different plays and decks that you can make with the adventure engine, and I'd like to cover quite a few of them as I'm laddering. One of them being Adventure Tenyi, which, funnily enough, if you look at like Master Duel meta, isn't in terms of power level one of the higher rated adventure decks, but as we talked about in the metagame analysis we did recently, that is more about the fact that it's not as that it's less consistent, so it tends to see less play in tournaments. But on a ranked ladder, I think Adventure Tenyi does a little bit better, and like I said, it's just a really fun deck. I enjoy playing it and comboing with it quite a bit. It is a little bit of a one-trick horse in that you've mainly just got your Auroradon line. It's usually Hulk into Auroradon, but of course we can go into Auroradon with the Tomahawk, and then sometimes in some scenarios Barricade Board Blocker with like a token as well. But you know, the Auroradon here, if your opponent stops you during this line, like after you've used this, then yeah, it's hard to really have a follow-up after that. But the explosiveness of this play is so good in and of itself that I still think this deck is still fairly good here. The build is actually not changed from, well, it changed from my initial build at some point during Season 7, like halfway through, but I haven't really felt the need to adjust it too much since then, as I'm really liking these ratios here. You could be playing more than 42 cards, that's totally fine. This deck could easily play up to like 45, but I like keeping my decks as low as possible to keep them consistent, and then also just to show off a more generalized build that you could then you know, kind of variate and build off of yourself. Variate? Is that a word? Vary. It's vary, not variate. You know what I mean. So yeah, in any case here, those of you who are unfamiliar with Adventure Tenyi, if you don't know how the combo lines work, then you definitely want to check out my description, because I've got linked there a link to my Adventure Tenyi combo guide, which will show you off Jesus, I'm really good with words today, aren't I? Which will show off to you all of the important combo lines, and a lot of just generic positions you can end up in, which you can do from there, such as like, if you just like can make a Hulk. Like my first combo line I show you is like, have you summoned a Hulk? Okay, here's what you can do from there. You can pretty much just full combo as long as you can go into a Hulky Fibrax. And then of course we also show off stuff like what you can do with a solo Jet Synchron, like just by itself and one of their card to discard, just a whole bunch of other fun stuff. You'll want to check that out there. But to generally break it down briefly, the idea of the deck, like I mentioned, is get to Hulky Fibrax. If you can get 2 monsters, including a tuner, on the board, then from there, if you follow the appropriate combo line, you can end with, let's see, it's a Chow Fang, you get a Chi Xiao, you get a Protos, and then you also get a Baron de Fleur. So again, going into Hulk is enough to get an Omni Negate, a Monster Negate. None of your opponent's light effects will work, and they won't be able to special summon dark monsters. So that's obviously, like I said, an extremely powerful board to end on, and that's like an average ending board. Like sometimes you can do a little bit better than that. Sometimes you do a little bit worse with a little bit of a worse hand, but for that to be an average ending board is definitely demonstrates the power of Adventure Tenyi. Again, not as consistent as something like Adventure Prank Kids, but I just like it. There's no other reason to play it. I just like it. I do think it's a very solid tier 2 deck, which obviously, like I've mentioned before, anything that's at least rogue tier, right, can definitely get you to Diamond 1 with enough games. You just have to have an over 50% win rate, which obviously a tier 2 deck is more than easily capable of doing. So All right, as always, we're going to start by breaking down the list card by card here, and then we will jump into some games. Now, these games, as always with my initial deck profiles at the start of the season, these games are going to be from the very end of the last season during my kind of practice that I like to do at the end of the season with the decks I'm about to ladder with. So just keep that in mind. But of course, you will be seeing games from the season soon enough. So we are playing 2 Chiwen, Light of the Zing, 1 Jet Synchron, 1 Tenyi Spirit Adhara, 3 Maxx, 2 Mecha Phantomisto Lion, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Red Rose Dragon, 1 Roxrose Dragon, 2 Water Enchantress of the Temple, 1 Swordsoul of Taia, 1 Swordsoul Strategist Longyuan, 3 Tenyi Spirit Vishuda, 3 Tenyi Spirit Ashuna, 1 Wandering Gryphon Rider, 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 1 Archnemesis Protos, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Swordsoul Emergence, 2 Rite of Aramesir, 1 Dracoback, the Rideable Dragon, 1 Fateful Adventure, 2 Called by the Grave, 2 Crossout Designator, 1 Basal Rose Shoot, 1 Infinite Impermanence, and then 1 9 Pillars of the Zing. Down here in the extra deck, we were playing 1 Herald of the Arclight, 1 Denglong, First of the Zing, 1 Yazi, Evil of the Zing, 1 Baxia, Brightness of the Zing, 1 Borreload, Savage Dragon, 1 Swordsoul Grandmaster Chi Xiao, 1 Chao Fang, Phantom of the Zing, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Sheng Ying, 1 number 42 Galaxy Tomahawk, 1 Salamangreat Almirage, 1 Monk of the Tenyi, 1 Crystalline Halki Fibrax, 1 Barricade Borg Blocker, and then finally, of course, 1 Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. Alright, now that we have covered the deck a little bit here, let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. Alright, so the first deck we're going to play against this first game here is going to be against a just 40 card good stuff deck, which you could argue Adventure Tenyi is pretty much just a 40 card good stuff deck, just with an emphasis on worm cards. But opponents playing adventure stuff, they're playing Thunder Dragon Colossus, they're playing a whole bunch of fun stuff. So here I actually get a pretty mediocre setup, even though I get first turn, opening with Chiwen, Red Rose, and then just a whole bunch of disruption. Now, the fact that we have Imperm and Crossout and Maxx actually leaves me fairly confident. Definitely still want to set the Chiwen here, as getting to Hulk is always the most important thing. So even if we can't do it on this turn, we want to try to set ourselves up for a world where we already have a tuner on the board. So next turn we can just normal summon anything and then just go straight into a Hulk. And again, with the disruption that we've opened here, it's not unreasonable for that to end up being the case. Opponent's going to lead with a Fateful Adventure. I did debate activating Crossout Designator against it here, but I ultimately decided not to, because I thought it might end up being a little bit more important if I needed to counter a response or a disruption. So as soon as the Ashuna, I'm going to Maxx here for sure. Opponent's got an Ash Blossom, and this is definitely more of a spot where I'd be inclined to flip up the Crossout Designator as we do here. Yeah, because the Maxx is going to go a lot farther stopping my opponent's plays than using Crossout Designator to negate one card. Well, sometimes it is a little tempting, and sometimes it is even right to just negate something that is in your deck that you don't want them to use, like the Fateful Adventure, you know. But yeah, in this case, it was definitely better to save it for the Maxx, or to make sure the Maxx went through, I think, so. Let's go summon a Baron here. It looks like they're pretty much just going to go for their combo line here, which they're going second, so I definitely don't fault them for that at all. We're going to make sure, we're going to need to make sure that we can activate Nibiru here. An opponent is going to use Baron's effect, so they just kind of gave us a good opportunity to Imperm. So now that we can use responses, now we just have to draw into them, which sometimes can be easier said than done, but it'll mostly depend on how determined the opponent is and how much they're willing to special summon here, which it looks like they're going to go for the Wandering Gryphon Rider next. Now at this point they do still have to battle through my monster. Oh, they actually don't, that's right, I forgot they didn't go for it. So deciding not to give me any more draws off Maxx, I guess, than absolutely necessary. Honestly, going second, I would have just pushed for it, especially against a deck that's playing more than 40 cards, because no deck really has room for more than one Nibiru right now. So, and not even every deck is playing Nibiru that can or should be playing it. So, if you're able to attack for a game, if you're going second, then I think it's definitely right to push through that Maxx which is not always something I've done in the past, but definitely in more recent months, I've kind of been adapting that mentality. And as we can see, if the opponent had done so here, I mean, maybe, you know, Nibiru could be within the next few cards off the top, but I think my opponent would have been fairly likely to take this game had they been willing to push through the Maxx. But here in this case, you know, we've got the red rose, we've got the adventure setup. The opponent pretty clearly sees that we can just go off with that. So that is enough to get them to give us the win there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next game. Okay, next duel is going to be against Sky Strikers, which I think in the last video that I played against them, they opted to go first, and I was like, no, don't. Sky Strikers always want to go second. But now that we're seeing some Sky Striker builds adopt the adventure lineup, it is sometimes right for them to go first. But we get to take the first turn here anyway. So we've got an adventure setup as well as you know, a means of summoning a tuner and another monster. So this is definitely looking like a pretty solid setup here. I could also even go into the Tomahawk line if I wanted to, but well, not in this case, as the opponent. Well, we still could, actually. We could still get the Wandering Gryphon Rider, which I do think I actually end up searching up here anyway. Yeah, even though we can't get the equip spell. Again, I don't know if my opponent actually meant to deny me the Dracoback, or if they were trying to prevent me from adding the Gryphon Rider, but I've said this before, because I've seen opponents misplay doing it, not only just in replays, but when I duel off screen as well. If you're going to ash the Fateful Adventure and you want to keep them from adding the Gryphon Rider, just make sure that you're ashing in response to the right effect, because if you ash and negate the effect that adds Dracoback, they can still add Wandering Gryphon Rider, because ash does not negate for the whole turn, it just negates for that one instance of activating the effect. So definitely be mindful of which effects you are responding to with Ash Blossom when it comes to Fateful Adventure, and just in general too. But so here I decided to end up pitching the O-Lion instead, getting the Hulk set up with the Omni Negate, you know, already established on board. That way I know if my opponent's got like a Nibiru or something, or just a further disruption, that it will not be an issue. Although they've obviously already passed the threshold where they would max C, and they've used Ash, so Nibiru tends to just be the most likely choice after that. They've got Valor in this case, but you know, more or less the same. We'll still just Gryphon Rider it. And yep, now we can just go ahead and get our airplanes. And here I'm actually going to send the adventure token alongside the Auroradon in order to save my Mecha Phantom Beast tokens, as many of them as possible anyway, in order to make sure that I can still go into like quote-unquote full/regular combo lines. Excuse me. As you'll want to have 3 tokens at this point, because you're going to use one to sync with Denglong into a level 10 after Denglong uses its effect, and then the other two rather you'll sync with a level 1 tuner in order to make the Yazi. So here we can go for the Baron de Fleur, once again keeping another Omni Negate up, the level 1 tuner being the Chiwen. I was trying to, for some reason I want to say Jet Synchron, but no, it's Chiwen. But yeah, the Baron de Fleur, as always, not only keeping the Omni Negate up against the hand trap, but also using its effect to destroy Yazi, which will let us get Taia, and also Chiwen back from the grave, which will, of course, greatly extend our plays. Alright, yep, here's Taia's effect, banishing the Yazi, summoning the Swordsoul token. Since we have a normal monster out, a non-effect monster rather, we're going to use Ashuna at this point in order to get the Vishuda out. Now we can make 2 different level 8 synchros. I'm going to start by making Chi Xiao with the Taia and the Swordsoul token there, in order to not only send, I'm going to end up sending an Adhara in order to make a Chiwen here, but also to add the Emergence, which is going to set up the Protos. So this is more or less the standard setup. We just kind of did it in a little bit of a different order because of our opponent's responses, but once you recognize what you can get into this setup, the quote-unquote setup, then it's definitely not hard to just, you know, remember what it takes and get into it from there. And again, if you're unfamiliar, because I was unfamiliar for a really long time, not really long time, but when I first went into, you know, build and record games for Adventure Tenyi, I kind of had one of those like, oh, that's right, I don't really have any idea how this deck works kind of a moment. But so again, if you're lost by this, definitely check out my combo guide linked below in the description. It'll give you a more detailed walkthrough of what's going on here. So alright, between, I was going to say between the Upstart and the Rhoda, but then of course the Rhoda just gets Ray. But what I was just going to say was that of course I know it's Sky Striker here. I'm going to let the area 0 go. I'm not really worried about it. The engage is definitely going to end up getting negated, though. But they summon the Ray first and go for the Hayate. Definitely going to negate Hayate's effect to prevent them from not only doing damage, but also from sending a card from deck to grave. I'll go to 9 Pillars of Yangzing the engage, because I don't particularly want to use the Omni Negate on it just yet. And I know my opponent's not going to really have any light monsters for Chiwen to hit. And furthermore, I know I can also get an Ash Blossom off of the Chao Feng as well with its effects, because when it's destroyed by battle or card effect, or I think even just sent to the graveyard, or is it destroyed? It's one of the two, I don't remember. But anyway, then it searches up a tuner, so you know, you can just get the Ash Blossom, and even if your opponent has future plays beyond that, you can just use the Ash Blossom to disrupt them. So, cool, that's all I've got for that game. Let's go and take a look at the next one. Okay, so this opponent is playing a 60 card, like, it's like a Danger Kaiju kind of a thing, but with also like a pretty, like an emphasis on the rank 8 engine. That's a neat deck. And let's see what we got here. Not the best opening hand, opening 2 Maxi Roxrose. The second Maxi and the Roxrose are definitely dead draws, but the hand of Maxi, Red Rose, and the right end of itself is already a pretty good sign, so. And we're going to add the Dracoback and then send it in order to summon, or in order to add the Gryphon Rider rather, and then we'll summon the Gryphon Rider. And then those will just sink away into a Baron. It might seem a little bit counterintuitive to synchro away one of your Omni Negates, but it's fine because you're just going into another Omni Negate. So, yeah, definitely not a big deal at all. Alright, I got the Roxrose out. Here comes the Basal Rose Shoot. Now we can go into Hulk. And this part of the combo line should start to look fairly familiar. Yeah, so that's the thing about Adventure Tenyi. It seems a little intimidating, especially when you look at the deck list and you're trying to figure out like how the hell all these cards work together, but it's really not that bad at all, honestly. I think learning all the combo lines just took me like, I don't know, I watched a couple of videos. There was one video in particular, I don't remember at all who it was by. Oh shoot, I should have linked them, my Adventure Tenyi combo guide, but you know, I just watched him for a little bit, and then that kind of got me, you know, a little bit more comfortable. Wow, I feel really bad that I don't remember that name off the top of my head. I'm sorry, otherwise I would definitely shout you out and link your video in the description there. I'll see if I can find it and add it in post. But, well, not, you know what I mean. Anyway, since we've already got the Baron out here, we can set up the Chengying as well as the Baron, which is always nice, just another extra body to add to the board. This is kind of what I mean when I say, like, you know, the Hulk line is like the bare minimum of what you can do. It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility to end on a lot more extra stuff in addition to that. Once again, we're at the stage where we're using Baron to pop Yazzie. That can be an easy way to think of combos as well, as opposed to like just get to Hulk, is because this part of the combo line kind of always plays out the same. So it's like, okay, if I can just get a Baron and a Yazzie on board, and I can use the Baron to pop the Yazzie and go for the, you know, the Swordsoul of Taia and all that fun stuff. So I don't know, it's like anything else in life, right? There's just different mnemonics you can use to try to memorize it. I do find the like memorizing combos from a certain point as opposed to trying to find or like memorize all the combo all at once definitely does help me tend to get them down a little bit more easily. So just want to offer that advice in case maybe any of you found that helpful. So yeah, you see we're still able to get the Emergence for Protos, and then of course they're about to go into Baxia, which I'll use to get back the Adhara and then go for a Chao Feng. So again, it's going to be our standard setup, and then we also just get a Chengying on top of it. The standard setup, of course, also including the Omni Negate from the 9 Pillars. I don't think I counted that last time I talked about the end board, now that I think about it, so I just wanted to reiterate there that just how good that is, just how good this end board is. Using the Gizmek in response in order to dodge the Dark Draw. I probably shouldn't have Maxx'd here. Oh no, wait, we had 2 in hand, right? Okay, no, that's fine then. We did have 2, didn't we? I mean, assuming we still have a Maxx'd in hand, so yeah, okay. We had 2 Maxx'd, it was fine. I thought I had something else for some reason. But yeah, now you can see once again, we've got 2 Omni Negates, well, one now, as my opponent Kaiju's. I'm definitely going to Maxx in response to this Kaiju coming down, just in case my opponent tries to summon another one. Also definitely going to 9 Pillars in response to this Dark Hole. I could potentially just use Chenging's effect to save it, and Protos wouldn't die either. So really, it was just to save the Chi Shao and the Kaiju, but I still thought that was worth it. So, as you can see, yep, I added the Ash Blossom with the Chao Fang here. Opponent's going to use Smoke Mosquito to try to make their monster level 8, try to go for a rank 8, but Chi Shao is going to put a botch to that pretty quickly. And because my opponent has used their normal summon, is now presumably out of things, they just concede at this point. So, yet another game showing off the power that Adventure Tenyi can have, and just, you know, just kind of just steamrolling through, honestly, sometimes. But, all right, let's go take a look at the next one. Okay, next game is against Elderlich, which I haven't really encountered much at all since I hit Diamond 1 this season. It makes sense, though. I mean, I think usually people who play Elderlich tend to stop playing it around Diamond 1 anyway, but the fact that I think we just had a new... Well, not I think, we of course did. The fact that we just had a new pack come out, I think a lot of people are just willing to experiment more than anything else. So, Poet's going to lead off with an Artifact Lancia. I'll call by it. I did think to myself for a moment that this could be a bluff, and that I could pretty, I don't know about easily, but I could figure out a way to play through Lancia, I think. But I just didn't want to complicate things, and I don't know. I was reasonably certain enough that they probably didn't have something else that I felt comfortable, you know, using my... Well, I guess to be fair, call by wouldn't have helped against, you know, against like a Nibiru anyway. But I was thinking, of course, more of like Maxx and Ash. But nope, opponent does not have any of that, so I can go for my Baron before setting up for the rest of my combo here. Alright, let's see. Yep, just doing more pretty standard adventure stuff. At this point, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and end here. I've got a couple of Omni Negates on board. It's not as explosive as some of our other end boards, but, you know, making do with what we've got and all that fun stuff. And, like I said, even though it's not an ideal board, like, oh no, it's still 2 Omni Negates, right? Like, still definitely more than good enough. I'm going to use the Gryphon Rider on the Rite of Aramesir here, because... I don't want to have to deal with their adventure setup as well, like their Gryphon Rider. Opponent then sets 4, kind of revealing their true colors at that point. Because I saw the Rite of Aramesir and I was like, what the heck even is this? But then, of course, now we see the Scarlet Sanguine being flipped up and the Elderlich being summoned. So, I'm definitely going to use Dracoback and Baron to start picking away at these opponents' back rows. I'll use Baron's Omni Negate on the Skill Drain, but the opponent flips up the other card, revealing it to also be a Skill Drain. So, yeah, pretty crafty. I was going to say clever and crafty, and I said clafty. Pretty clafty, opponent. Oh, sorry, I think I was also bumping the desk a little bit there, too. My bad if I was. But, fortunately, paying for both of those Skill Drains, as well as the burn, did actually put them down in pretty decent ways. So I think I might actually even be able to win this turn depending on what level 8 I go into here. Okay, yeah, it was a Boarload Savage Dragon. Yeah, so we don't get the effect, we do get enough damage in order to have lethal here. So yeah, always nice when you can do that, even if even if you don't have like, if your Boarload isn't able to equip, like, it's just the fact that it did more damage was enough to help. So, as always, very nice. Okay, I think we have one more duel after this. Let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, yes, one more game to show off here against Adventure Phantom Knight. And I actually don't remember this one outside my head, so we'll have to see how it goes. Looks like they're actually taking the first turn here, which is cool. To show off a going second game. Looks like we do have a Maxx, and the rest of the starting hand looks alright. The Dracoback, obviously not an ideal draw, but yeah, they're going to Foolish to send the Water Enchantress, and unfortunately I do not have an Ash to stop that from happening. But once the right is activated, I'm definitely going to respond with Maxx in order to make sure that we're getting maximum draws. If the opponent did not have an Ash Blossom, we would be able to get maximum draws. So, yep, unfortunately not going to be drawing off Maxx. Womp womp, oh well. It's too bad the Royal Finish Rite doesn't summon a Royal Finish token. I thought about that actually during this duel. I remember wanting to bring that up because I know in Hearthstone if you've got a gold card that generates tokens, it also generates gold tokens. So you'd think it'd be the same here because, like, well, okay, if that Rite of Aramesir token, or Adventure token, I should say, isn't Royal Finish because the Rite wasn't, then, you know, obviously none of them have any kind of cool effects to that, but I think it's gonna be cool if the token had a cool Royal Finish effect too. So opponent's gonna Maxx C here. I don't really have a response. That's just gonna have to be fine. Well, I can actually use this Basal Rose Shoot in order to get the Roxrose Dragon out a little more quicker. So I am gonna do that, but otherwise, you know, it's just gonna have to be fine at this point. It's actually mostly fine anyway because we can just go into our level 10 Omni-Negate of Baron de Fleur. And if the opponent tries any funny business with one or Gryphon Rider, it's like, okay, now we're at least on a little bit more even, you know, quote-unquote even footing in that regard. But what I think I'm actually going to do here is just try to use the Dracoback with the Monk here to bounce the Wandering Gryphon Rider, and that way I can just go straight into just go straight into my plays without having to worry about anything, which is definitely going to be the case here. I don't really know why the opponent allowed that to resolve unless they weren't able to activate Gryphon Rider for a reason that I forgot, but yeah, they didn't really do anything as I was getting rid of that, so I must not have been able to, because yeah, now they're ashing my Hulk, which of course I'm responding to. And yeah, let's see here. Alright, that's the quote-unquote budget bringing back, or I guess bringing out Jet Synchron, as opposed to doing it with its effects. I don't know what I meant by budget there, but I don't know, I gotta admit, it's a little late when I'm recording this. I'm a wee bit loopy and tired right now, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay, now we can bring back the Jet Synchron. Some of the O-Lion. And then, yep, now we send those to the Denglong. That's going to leave us with 3 There's 3 words, brain. Jesus. Words. 3 tokens. Jesus, 3 tokens. There it is. Oh my god. I'm so out of it right now. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, so that way we can, like I talked about earlier, send with the Ashuna to make it a level 7. We can get another level 10. Again, since we've already summoned Bear in this game, we can just go for a Cheng Ying. Now we can use Denglong to get the Chiwen, and then from there sync it to the Yazi, which we can pop with the Baron. Actually, we can't pop it with the Baron because we've already used Baron's effects, but our opponent has a card to pop, so we can just use Yazi's own effect to pop itself in the Fateful Adventure here. And again, yeah, just going through this combo, even though my opponent could technically draw Nibiru at any time, they haven't yet, or they haven't used it yet, so there's no reason just to not, there's no reason not to set up lethal on the board if you can, if you're in a state like this, in a position like this. Okay, looks like we're getting all this stuff ready for our level 8 synchros here. Yeah, I was gonna say, probably starting with Baxia in this scenario. Yeah, I would definitely rather have the... Oops, sorry, my sound went out for just a moment there. I'd definitely rather have the Chao Feng than the 9 pillars in a scenario like this, for sure. And of course the Almirage doesn't have anything to protect and has 0 attack points, so it's more or less like my opponent's just got a wide open board. Again, as long as they don't Nibiru. That's the main thing we're looking... Well, actually, they can't really even Nibiru anymore because we have Chao Feng out. Nibiru being light, and of course an activated effect, that means that Chao Feng is definitely going to do more than enough to prevent that from happening again. The rapid fire... excuse me. The rapid fire... breaking of our opponent's cards as they concede with 1 million Maxx C cards in hand. So yeah, I wanted to show these games because not only do they show off like a good variety of scenarios, but we see a scenario where, one of our opponents had the ability to try to play through a Maxx C for the win, but they didn't go for it. And as a result, I end up winning. And then we see this last game here. Excuse me, we see this last game here as well where I did have the opportunity to play through a Maxx C, and because I did, I managed to win the game on my on the second turn on my first turn there. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on now to the outro. Okay, everyone, as always, thank you very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. I greatly appreciate that. Let me know what you think about Adventure Tenyi in the comments down below, as I love seeing comments, and of course, if you want to subscribe, that'd be fine too. But comments is actually one of the things that I look forward to the most, because I love getting the feedback and critical response from you all. So definitely let me know what you think about Adventure Tenyi in this format as a deck, where it stands, if it's powerful, if you like laddering with it, if you think it's too risky. I'd love to hear your input, so definitely do that there. And like I said, subscribing, great way to support the channel, and definitely appreciate that there. But I think that's all I've got for today's video. So yeah, without further ado, this is XLex signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.